Hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate podcast. This is Chani, your host. And a special guest in the studio, in the brand new studio that just came together in the past few minutes, Chani Frankel, also known as Chani Bonnie, also known as a lot of other things.
Cool.
Chani wears a lot of hats, and I'm really excited to talk about those here today.
Yay.
Yeah,
so excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I love the adventure of this already. So fun.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Now you get the full welcome with the whole situation.
Love it. So good.
Yeah. So happy to have you here.
It's so organic. You know, I feel a part of
Yeah.
already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think honestly, one part that I love about the podcast is like the collaboration that we get to do and how we each, like myself and my guest, get to just like show up and see what comes up and see how we can, you know.
Feels like co-creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to talk a lot about that in Jewish thought about like co-creation and how it's like such a center of who we are and our identity and our like lifestyle. And so it's so beautiful to be able to practice it in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely in many ways does feel like my little baby. So anytime like anyone's involved, it's just like so fun.
Well, thanks for including me
Yeah.
in the evolve of bringing messages into the world in your own unique way, in the special way that you see things, in the unique way, feminine way that you see things. It's cool. It's cool to be a part of the future.
Yeah.
This is what I feel like I'm a part of right now. It's like, you know, evolving into what's becoming and being a part of creating foundation for that.
Wow. That's like a huge compliment coming from you. Okay. Especially because I feel like you've always been like at the forefront of just like invention for sure. And within our community, with art, with like florals, with like all of that.
Yeah.
Which I know and see that has evolved, like the business side of it. So I actually would love to kind of start with that.
Oh, cool.
To talk to me about like the evolution of like your professional life and how that impacted or was impacted by your personal life.
Cool.
Kind of thing.
Did not know we're going there, but cool. Love talking about that. Yeah, it's very exciting.
I was thinking, I'm like, I kind of want to talk to you about it. And then it just like,
fine.
happened.
I'm down. So, wow. Many years ago, I feel like going back down memory. Yes, gather around 16 years ago, to be precise, which is a very long time ago. It's kind of wild how much has shifted. Like we started our company before Instagram, when Facebook was like just starting up in the college scene and no one exactly knew where it was, where to broadcast the fact that we were coming to town, we sent a postcard to every person in the neighborhood. Like that's how far back we go.
Yeah.
Just for reference.
Mm-hmm. Early 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was 2000 and I don't want to say because I might not know exactly.
Because I feel like Facebook was like 2006, 7.
Yeah. So I think it was actually 2007.
Okay.
So my partner Frida and she was working for someone at the time. I was doing hair, actually. I did hair before I did florals all throughout high school. My mom was a big supporter of my artistic expression, and she was happy with me to take days off of school so that I could be involved in the wedding scene in the way of doing, I was going to say floral arrangements, but hairstyling.
You were gonna say, you will always say floral.
Yeah, like it's
forever.
like, so like, yeah, going to do like 9 sisters and like standing there, and I had like my Camp Muna bag with my little curler and my bobby pins and my like hairspray, and I'd come and make everyone feel beautiful. And funnily enough, thinking back, I realized that my trademark, or where I set myself apart from other, was that I always included fresh florals in people's hairstyles. So maybe that was like a foreshadowing of what was to come. But then, so Frida and I have been friends since Camp Muna when we were 7 years old in Bunkiat Aleph, you know. And
shout out to Bunkiat Aleph.
Woo, woo. We did not win color war, but that's okay. We're still great. A for effort.
Well, is it about winning?
No, totally not. It's about the journey and just having fun. Let's be real. So yeah, we both realized that we were not cut out to be the stay-at-home moms. Frida didn't even have a kid yet, but she kind of like knew that. And I had my first son and was kind of working freelance, but ready to like step into something bigger. Looking back, I recognized that it was my freedom, my desire to hold on to my freedom, which is what most deeply motivated making the moves to create something independent of my husband as income, as a place for me to express myself creatively, as a way to interact with community and people that I love more than anything in the world. I'm fascinated mostly by people. And for me, it didn't really matter what the medium was going to be. As long as it was a space for creativity, I was down. And Frida was the one who actually came up with the idea. She was out in California for a wedding. She ended up in a flower shop in an interaction buying flowers, and she was just like, if they could charge me this much money and that's what I'm getting for it, I'm pretty sure we can freaking do this.
Wow.
So she called me after Shabbos from Cali and she's like, we're opening up a flower shop. I'm like, done.
Like, say less.
Yeah, say less. And I think that there is this belief system in the universe that if you're doing something, you probably thought about it. And so as soon as you're standing on the other side of the counter, people just trust that you know what you're doing. And we were also really good at being confident in our decisions. And I think there's a little bit of like a cockiness that comes with being young and naive, of being able to be like almost overly confident in some ways, but it definitely worked in our favor. And yeah, so it started off as a mom and mom flower shop that slowly evolved into and growing along with our families and our families' demands. And so the transition from moving out of the retail space and kind of transitioning into full event design and production has also been very much guided by how we want to spend our time with our family. Because I don't work to live, I live, and my work kind of supports that. That's kind of how and I don't believe that there needs to be any sort of cutting corners in that space. Like, we are here, we're the ones making the choices for our company, for our business, and for our families. So if my family in some way is not getting what they need, then something's got to give. And so, like, you know, when kids are little, you just need to like wipe their tush and clean their nose and like pat them on the head and give them a kiss, and like it's good enough, you know. But as my kids were getting older, I was realizing that I really need to be more present emotionally for them, which requires a lot of presence. And being tied up in the daily grind was taking a lot of hours for me. And it just felt like moving into a space of working smarter, not harder. And transitioning into event planning has been, tremendous, both for our company and for our families.
Win-win.
Win-win, exactly. That's everyone's so cool. Winning. I will say that I do miss retail because there were certain things like the people that I got to, all different kinds of people that I got to interact with on a daily, which was wild and fascinating for me. And also the art on demand. It was just like every day I got to make art, all kinds of art, motivated and informed by the people and what they were, the messages they were trying to give over to the person that was receiving the flowers. And so
whatever they put down, you picked up and you just created something with it.
Yeah. And it was a magical space to hold for other and to be able to create with that information and to really nail it.
Yeah.
Like, we got really good at what we do. Like, we're really good at what we do. So, I mean, now we get to do it in a much more maximized level. So all of our design is motivated by the feeling that you want your guests to experience. Like, that's how we walk into whatever we're creating. And then understanding that it informs the colors, the design, the layout, all of the details that add to the overall experience and feeling you're going to have there in whatever it is that we're celebrating. So So yeah, it's bittersweet, but so is everything in life. And I'm so grateful for the experiences that I did get to have and the relationships that we've got to develop over time. I mean, being on a main avenue in Crown Heights for so many years, I got to meet people as they were dating, when they got married, when they had their first child, when their mother came to town, when their aunt, whoever, like everybody. We were like, it's a part of the family. You become very much.
Just getting chills.
Yeah. And so that was a really special, or when you were like, you started out and then you went in shluchah somewhere and now I send you a check every month because like we still have that relationship, all those type of things.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. And it is something, there's so many things that you just said that I kind of want to unpack a little more.
Okay.
So number one, this idea that like you can choose your life.
Yes.
So I 100%, we literally planned to talk about that.
Okay.
But the other thing also was the mourning of like the transition, and like when you choose that, you're saying goodbye to something, you're mourning something, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And that thing you might really want, but you might just choose to say goodbye to that for whatever reason. So I feel like both of those things are like really like valuable.
Yeah, it took me longer to be ready to let go of the retail because I love people so much. And the idea of not being able to have that was very difficult for me. Definitely Frida was already ready to make that move sooner than I was. And it took me longer to recognize that actually that is the best thing for our family and the best thing for our business. It's, it takes time. It takes time and to give yourself grace in mourning the things that are lost in the growth that becomes. It's like, I have a plant in my office, and as new leaves are growing, these beautiful young blossoms are coming forth, the old ones are dying away. And like, that's part of the journey. Yeah. Like that's the romance of the journey. Yeah. Like this moment, this present moment that is here to encapsulate like all that is coming and all that was, and the temporariness of that.
Just keep talking.
And I should just keep talking.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
It's the fleeting moment. Sure. I feel like there's something in that I learned through flowers. Flowers are not about holding on for forever. Right. Flowers is about recognizing this moment, celebrating this particular moment outside of all other moments because it's not going to last. Yeah. It's just going to be right now. But right now, I want to make it special. And right now, I want to mark it. And right now, I want it to be the most magical experience. And it doesn't matter what tomorrow will bring because we don't know that tomorrow will even come. Right. So I think with flowers, like, and being in the presence of flowers and working with flowers, and like, besides for the fact that flowers is a creation of Hashem that he put into this universe just to make it beautiful and to be so closely engaged in that part of godliness is transcendent in and of itself. And each flower on its own is so like, it tells its own story. It's so magical on its own. And then when you get the opportunity to blend them with tonally and texturally and just create stories with them, it's magic.
Do you feel like you have words for that experience?
For what it feels like to be creating with the ultimate godliness?
Yeah.
It's almost like, it's a really interesting question because there are some things that words limit as far as experiences go. And I just want to say that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of, so I was like, I'm curious if there are any words that, because I feel like the way you were expressing it was just so like awesome. I was just curious if there was like something more.
I think also each flower speaks.
Yeah.
Volumes in the way it shows up, in the way it unfurls, in the color that it that it is and that it represents. Yeah. And so when we create combinations of things, it's like you are creating a story. You're putting all of the words and the characters and the, and the supporting actresses. And it's like when I created an arrangement, I actually think of a community.
Right.
Where it's like the idea is that we all support each other and we hold space for other so that they shine. And by holding space, I am also shining. Yeah. And so when I create an arrangement, I really consider that. It's like every person's placement or every flower's placement in the tapestry of being co-creating and coexisting is being able to be in a position where I am being fully myself and appreciated for everything that I am. And at the same time as doing that, I am shining so much light onto you. Yeah. And you are doing the same for me. And so flowers and the way that we create them, it holds that energy. And so people are always like, what, your flowers are just, I feel so tranquil. I feel like I get like lost inside of them. Like something about them is so inviting. Something about them is so peaceful to experience and be around. It's like, yes, because that love and intention is in every creation that we make, And
do you feel like, because you talk about this sharing of like love and intention, do you ever feel like burnt out by that experience? Or do you feel like it generates more energy for you?
On the artistic side of this, I've never felt burnt out. Like, I am always so grateful to Hashem and so humbled by the information that he keeps pumping into my brain. And like ideas that like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is like the best idea I've ever came up with. Like, will I have another idea? And then it's like,
is this the peak? Like, have we reached it?
Yeah. Like
is this Everest?
Yeah. Right. And then I'm like, oh no, it's not. Hashem's like, cool. Here's some other ideas. Right. And it's really surrendering to recognizing that it's through me.
Wow.
Like, this is the gift. And it's also such an opportunity to share.
Yeah.
Like, when it's a gift, it's like, it's not taking anything away. It's only adding to the richness of this experience of life. And it also takes the pressure off. Like, it doesn't have to be anything specific. Just let it come. Just let it be. Just let it flow through you. Yeah. And yeah, like when I'm in the motion of art, like I really feel like suddenly something else has taken over. And it's almost like when you're running and then like you're like, feet, what feet? Hands, what hands? Breathing? Like, I'm just in a flow here. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just going. Like, that's kind of how it feels to lean into the creative flow, where it's like, it's beyond you and it's through you and it's just kind of happening.
Right.
And then you step back and you're like, shit, we're really good at this.
You did good.
Thanks, Hashem.
That's really cool. And this is really just like allowing and surrendering to the flow of it.
Yeah. Letting go of outcome is, especially with flowers, because you can order the flowers and guess what? You get to the market and they look like crap. Or guess what? That flight got canceled and you don't have what you need and you have to like regroup. So,
or the arrangement that you had in your head like doesn't look good.
Right. Well, because
that ever happen, or like
it'll only not look good if I'm connected to an outcome.
Right.
But if I surrender to the flow, then whatever it's going to express itself as is going to be exactly what it was meant to be, and I can surrender to that.
Yeah.
Also, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just beautiful.
Not for nothing,
Yeah.
But it's just taking ownership of the fact that like I am an artist.
Yeah.
That's just my reality.
Yeah.
And it's a gift.
Yeah.
I didn't have to work for it. Of course, the more you invest yourself in any art form, the more refined you become in the art form. So yes, there's definitely a part of me in it, but ultimately the gift was from Hashem.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't ask to be an artist. He was like, you're going to be an artist, and that's part of the way you're going to communicate with the world is through the art that you're going to put out. And you're going to have the confidence to recognize that it's not you, it's through you, and you're going to lean into that space, and that's what the world's going to be able to be inspired through. And that's it. And it's like, cool, that's part of my tikkun. Love it. Thanks, Hashem. And like, for so long, it's felt like this is the space I'm meant to be holding in this universe.
Yeah.
Like, this is the medium I'm supposed to be communicating with for others to experience in their own, celebration or whatever it is that they're framing in a beautiful way.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
So there was a question that came up before. I was curious, like, because you said that you don't have to work hard to be an artist. It just like kind of flows. So I'm curious, like, where you have seen, you have had to work. Like,
well,
what
no,
areas?
this job requires a lot of hard work,
right,
in order to execute ideas. It takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of strategy, problem solving. So that's the fun part. That's the thrill. Yeah. But the idea is less what I have to work for. The idea comes. It's like, present me with a challenge and the idea will arrive. And now that I have the idea now informs the trajectory of the project. So now that I have an idea of like, okay, so we have to like build this thing that's going to hold this, it's going to balance that, like whatever it is, cool. Now the hard work is building it, finding the right people to work for you, getting the job done. It's early mornings. It could be late nights sometimes. It's perishables, which is very unpredictable. So like the job itself has a lot of
moving pieces
and its own set of challenges. But that's not, so like that's the part that's the work part. Yeah. The idea part is the part that's like, is the part that just kind of comes.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, I guess, like with all this background of like of your identity as like a floral designer, because we've spoken about this before, and I know that this is kind of something that you've been pivoting into is your life coaching.
Yeah.
So I really am, the reason why I wanted you to share, first of all, it's such a fascinating just like story, and you were doing this before anyone was doing it. So many of the things that you kind of like brought to the forefront and took a lot of risks to create magic, and some things work, some things don't, but like it doesn't matter because you're just doing it.
Yeah.
So I guess I would love to hear, like, with obviously that information, like how that has, first of all, like how has that like pushed you into the coaching space and how that experience has been for you?
Cool. Thanks for asking that. First of all, I worked with people in the most intimate of spaces for over 12 years, where we talked about things that matter, where we talked about things that are sensitive, that were deeply emotionally charged. I might be saying, I'm sorry. I might be saying, I love you. I might be saying, I fucked up and I don't know what to do about it. I might be saying, like, I hope you'll consider me. There's so many different expressions of what was being spoken through the flowers that you really get to learn through people by asking questions and being curious about so that they have space to share whatever that is. Many times deeply emotional cry. We're making flowers and we're both crying. Like that's what's just happening right now. Or just like I have a bouquet in one hand and then like we're just wrapped in a deep embrace and just like standing in the flower shop and just like having a moment or two or many. But yeah, I think that so much about learning about people through this very unique niche medium really prepared me for what it is to hold space for other, what it is to be in an emotional or uncomfortable situation with other, what it feels like to be curious, and what it feels like to have compassion for someone else's experience. I learned so much about myself through others too, all the time. And that was always so fascinating to me. Like my mind was always just like, what? That's awesome. I can't believe that.
Yeah. Are you like a real person?
Yeah.
Like, is this real?
Yeah. And like your experience is so uniquely your own. Yeah. And I don't necessarily have that experience, but I can resonate with the feelings that are charging it. Yes. And we are so different, but we are so the same. Yeah. And when you speak to so many people, you realize like not only me and you, but you and him and her and that person and we're all just like connected, and we're all so similar in so many ways, and our struggles are similar, and the things that keep us up at night are similar. So yeah, I think that in many ways created a foundation. I never thought about being a coach, but I also never thought about being a florist. I've always just kind of been like leaning into like the next thing that Hashem is sending me to. Yeah. And actually, Coach Moshe Hanan was the one who approached me, and he was like, I really think you'd be a really great coach. And
shout out to Moshe.
Yeah. And so I took him seriously, and I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, there's this course going on. I think you should like consider it. And so I did, and I took the course with Chaya Belsky, and it was a great course. And then she was like, just jump into coaching. And I did, and I had a little baby at the time, and it was just like, I didn't know how to balance it in my life. I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad I took the course. I know that it's for me. It's just like not right this second for me. But then when COVID hit and kind of like, I mean, we're in the event planning industry and in the, design industry. So it's like, if there's no party, then what am I doing? So COVID happened, and there was like a lot of uncertainty up in the air. And I was like, hey, over Passover, it was my birthday that year. Like COVID hit, Purim time, Passover time was my birthday. I had a lot of time to be introspective and consider what's going on in the world. And I was like, I did that course. I should just pick it up. Like maybe this is the time. And I put a post out on Instagram. I was like, hey guys, I'm starting out. If you're willing to be the guinea pig, join me. And many people reached out. Yeah. Many of them who became my first clients, that we did unbelievable transformative work together. Yeah. And then slowly it just evolved from there. My pricing, because I started off, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just come. Let's just chat. And yeah, now it is really special to witness people who step into the space with fear and uncertainty and a really kind of disjointed relationship with themselves. And then after our time together, really recognize how much they contribute to their own reality and their ownership of their choices and their intimate evolve with self. And there's just no greater feeling than watching somebody own themselves and like take the reins of their own horse and lead it into the direction they want to go, and then just run like hell, So yeah, so it's been beautiful, and it's kind of nice to have both. Like I definitely feel like as I coach, those coaching skills get better and better. We only, practice makes better always. So, and then how that also deeply affects the way I talk with my clients at Mimulo, because they go hand in hand. They help each other. They always have. And now that I really practice both, I really get to embellish both of the ways that I show up from each other. Yeah. They kind of like rub off on each other in that way. Yeah. So Baruch Hashem, and it's all part of what's meant for me, and the beautiful guides that have pointed the way for me to consider it, for me to step into it, and the people who are willing to trust and lean into that space with me, which is always just so humbling. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really incredible. The piece about like choosing to be brave enough to have the conversation, to think about something greater, not just staying in like whatever loop you're in, but like push through. And I we have spoken about this, like that being like the difference between like therapy and coaching. Yeah. Well, and I wonder if you want to talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's also, again, like the way that I understand things.
Your understanding.
Yeah. So I don't want to like put anyone in a box or put anybody down, being sensitive to the fact that this is just my opinion. And I've also done therapy, and I've also done coaching for myself personally. So it's also my experience of it. But therapy feels more about kind of going back in time to repair things that have been, which is very important. And coaching is more about coming into the space of like, where am I right now? And with where I'm at right now, what would I love to create? So it's like, it may take me a long time to deal with the trauma that happened with me with my dad, let's say, right? And that may take years, but it doesn't mean that like right now, today, I can't be stepping into the bigness that I am with that. Yeah. Like nothing is being negated. We're not getting rid of anything. Nothing is being left behind. Everything is for you. Everything's coming with you. And we are going to transform that into your superpower. And you're going to ride on this. And it's going to help you. You're going to recognize that all of these experiences are for you to build your resilience, to build your compassion, to build yourself up, to own all of yourself, and to recognize that like there is no shame, there is no blame. It's all me, and I can choose. Yeah. I can choose from this place of having full acceptance of all of me and all of my hopes and dreams.
Yeah. I feel like that really comes together because I think a lot of people who don't fully accept themselves can't fully accept those hopes and dreams and desires because you're just trying to like get through whatever you're getting through. But I am curious, what has like most surprised you in the space of coaching? Like what have you learned that has been like, didn't see that one coming?
I mean, what's hard to witness is how much people think they need to punish themselves. It's a very hard one to like hold space for because it needs space to be held. But it's also so difficult because you are deserving of so much more than that. And the choice to keep punishing myself is a choice that you're making. And it happens so much. And I think that one is, I guess it's, I don't want to say surprising, but it's like, it's just wild how down someone can be on themselves. Yeah. How the words that they use that they would never say to anybody else ever, that they're repeating to themselves constantly. That is a hard one. Yeah. That one is a hard one. But it's also magic to allow space and hold safe space for people to then be able to see that in themselves and then to slowly start transforming that and to start hearing it outside of themselves in the atmosphere and the way their mother speaks and the way their grandmother spoke and so many different things, and to watch that transformation evolve. So I think that the surprising element is like how down people come in to my space, how down that is before we then slowly start to walk up the stairs and slowly start to like take ourselves out of that hole and see the sunshine and see the light and then climb the mountain and then like see the horizon and the beautiful scenery and the smells and everything that there is out there that's for them. Yeah. So, yeah.
So do you want to, I'm not going to ask for advice, but I'm going to ask for like questions. Like if someone's struggling with this, and I'm sure that a lot of people listening can resonate to this idea of like not speaking kindly or gently or specifically speaking negatively to yourself. What kind of questions can someone ask themselves to?
I think before questions, it's just slowly starting to bring awareness into the way I speak to myself. Like when I allow awareness in and then I drop the thing on the floor and I'm like, oh, so stupid. Wow, I just called myself stupid because I dropped something. Am I stupid because I dropped something? No. Is it okay to make a mistake? Yes. How can I reframe this? So it's like, it's not so much of a question. It's more of just like slowing it down enough to start witnessing yourself in your own life experience.
Yeah.
Because in order to change something, I first have to understand what it is in order to then shift it. So it's getting to know myself. It's getting to know myself intimately in the quiet of my mind, in the words that nobody else hears except for me. And so quieting and just going inward a little bit and just being aware. Just aware.
What are those words?
Yeah, what are those words? What am I saying? When do I say them? Mm-hmm. How often am I saying them? What circumstances provoke more of those words to show up? Where am I finding that I'm not really saying them at all? Right? Like, where am I finding that comfort and that peace and that space inside of myself? And that's where we start. We just start with just playing, being aware. And it's not because I want to judge myself. It's not because I want to blame myself. It's not because I need to categorize this anywhere. It's just so I can slowly start getting to know who I am. Yeah. This is who I am. The language that I use towards myself is what allows me and is what kind of informs where I'm going with myself. So when I become aware of the words, then I have the opportunity to replace that, remove that word. And what happens if I say this? Or like, hey, it's okay to make a mistake.
Try on for size.
Try on for size. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's where everything begins.
Yeah. I think it's such an important like piece of it, because I think the reason why people speak negatively again about themselves, do you want to talk about that, the reasoning, or?
I mean, what it feels like to me is that we hold ourselves at an expectation, some of which we designed for ourselves, and some of it that was designed by others that were imposed upon us, or society or culture or whatever, all the different influences from, or social media, or whoever that she has this or does it, whatever. All of those places influence me and the way I feel about myself. Right? So it's like, when I listen in to the information that I'm giving myself by the words that I'm speaking to myself in, I can also understand then when I said that I was stupid, what was I judging there? What was the expectation there, right?
What didn't go through?
Yeah, what didn't pan out the way that your ideal self thinks that everything needs to be, and that this somehow interferes with. And so that's why you're so stupid. Oh my God, really? We don't do that.
Right.
We don't like randomly drop things on the floor, right? Like, that's kind of our own self-judgment is what informs that, the expectation or the idea that our ideal self is holding about us, that it has to be, which is why there's no acceptance for that, right?
Right. I guess my question
That's a really deep question, though. Like, you can go off on a tangent for that for hours.
Yeah, we totally can.
Yeah.
And I'm so down for that.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, the question is really unpacking, like, where is that from? Like, is it trauma? Is it, like, survival?
So,
like,
therapy would be the place where you are finding out where that's from. Exactly. And coaching is a place where we recognize it and we just start being what we actually want to be.
Which I love.
Yeah. So it's like, do you want to be stupid? No. What do you want to be? I want to be a goddess. Great. You're a goddess.
Bring it.
Yeah. So I'm going to, every time something happens that's like off kilter and I'm about to say stupid, just replace that with goddess. I'm a goddess. Goddesses can drop things on the floor and still be a goddess.
And everyone's just going to clean it up for them.
Yeah. Or I'll clean it up as a goddess. Right. Yes, I will embody that goddess and I will get down on the floor and I'll take the rag and I'll wipe up the mess that I made, and that's okay. Yeah. Because I'm a goddess. Yeah. And so, yes, there's a lot of work to be done about going back and finding out where that comes from. And if that is if you're called to do that work, like, do it, and if it goes really deep, and great, but also today, right this second, right now, I don't have to be stupid. I absolutely don't have to be stupid right now. Right. So right now, I want to change that. Where it comes from, I'll find out and I'll discover and I'll evolve and it will come or it won't come and I won't know. And that's fine. We don't have to know where things come from in order to just be what we are here to be in this universe. And it's definitely not to be stupid.
Right. Definitely not to be stupid.
Yeah.
Copy that.
Yeah. I actually never really use that word. It's funny that like it came up.
So interesting.
Like it's not ever a word that comes into like maybe because I did have a client today and so she used that word towards herself and so that's why it's my consciousness. But yeah, pretty wild.
But yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like from my experience, while there's a lot of like, working through old stuff.
Yeah.
Which is difficult. I think the harder part is like moving forward into like the possibilities and leaning into like what I want or who I really am. Or like when you say like, I'm so stupid. And then you say like, what do you want to be? And I'm like, that's like a question I could ask. Like that's an option, And so exploring that, can kind of see that even like within my space. I've been here for almost 2 years now. And like just figuring it out, like what do I want, and allowing just like pieces of furniture to come and go and like allowing like just the experience of whatever it is. And I think I would love for you to talk more about like getting in touch with that. It's like, but what do you want? And it's like, the audio of like, what do you want? No, but what do you want? It's not that simple.
Okay.
And like, it isn't.
No.
And,
yes, and because
like,
it's
it is that simple.
It is that simple. Also because like you said, try it on for size.
Yeah.
Like we don't have, just because I am replacing a word does not mean that I can't pick up the word if I want to take it right back.
And you can't replace the replacement with a replacement. With another replacement.
If you want to, if like actually that's not resonating, like goddess doesn't vibe with me, but confident does, great. Mm-hmm. So then do that. Mm-hmm. And if that's not resonating for whatever reason, cool. You'll find the thing that resonates with you. And if you want to take stupid back, it's always there. You can always have it back. Yeah. Nothing disappears. Everything is here. It's just deciding, making a choice as to what word do I want to lead me into what I am becoming or what I am ultimately, because we already are. Right. Like it's not Torah Chadasha where it's like we're discovering things that it's not Yesh Me Ayin. You know what I mean? It's Yesh Me Yesh. Everything is already. We're just uncovering what we've covered up. Our soul is pure. We were born pure. Like this is who we are in essence, right? And then we got all of this messaging outside that like sheltered me this way, that protected me that way, that defended me this way, da 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 da. So I am just allowing myself to uncover what is already there. And stupid was never really there. It was just a message that I got from somebody else. Maybe a kid in my class called me that one time. Maybe my teacher made me feel like that because I didn't pass the test. Maybe my mother, said something in a slur once when she was like very stressed out, whatever. But that's not who I am though. Yeah. It's not who I am. And definitely I don't want to be calling myself that.
Right.
So it's
definitely
like,
don't want to perpetuate that message.
Right.
But I do really love how fresh and like simple you're making it. Because I think part of being in challenging situations and having challenging experiences, whatever it is, I mean, from my experience, I've sometimes just like gotten addicted to like the complexity of the whole thing. And it's like really not that deep. Not that complex.
Right. But there is comfort in the complexity. Exactly. And there's comfort in the drama or whatever I'm perpetuating, which is why I continue to do it.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
The comfort of like the drama.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to people all the time that the difficulty is not owning up to whatever you want to be. The difficulty is letting go of my old habits. Because can I be my awesome self? Yes, you can be your awesome self. Can I let go of all of the narrative that holds me in the place where I don't get to be my awesome self? That's the question. Right. Like, can I loosen my grip on what I held as my identity for so long, that's absolutely not me. Because I am awesome. There is no doubt about that. Like any client that comes to me, like you could tell me anything you want. I don't believe you. I believe that you're awesome. Don't tell me how you're not deserving, and don't tell me how, this or that, because that's just our story that we're holding on to. So it's more about, can I allow myself to just lean into what it is that I truly want for myself, that I would truly love to be creating, that I want to exist in?
Yeah.
And can I loosen my grip? And it's not going to happen overnight. It doesn't. Yeah. And it does take time. Like there's a simplicity to it, but it takes time to embody the simple. Yeah. Ultimately the framework is like, done. Cool. But then it's like my inner work of releasing and surrendering and having compassion and loving that part of myself and being okay with it and getting to the honesty of it and understanding that like maybe that message was never true to begin with.
Right.
Maybe I developed this story because I needed to protect myself or whatever that is. I mean, I find that the way in to creating space for that is being super curious about my defenses. Super curious.
Can you talk more about that?
Yeah.
About defenses?
Yeah. Because I feel like defenses is a space that is protecting our ego self, right? There's like this ideal person that I've put up on a pedestal that's impossible to reach. That's me. And then I judge myself based on that, and I defend myself based on those judgments. And so much so, I've been doing it for so long that they actually became truths for me. Like I'll share a personal story. So I went to school and I sucked at reading and writing and grammar and spelling, all that, everything in English. And I started to kind of avoid / overcompensate in other areas because I was recognizing that like I'm not good at this, so I probably can't do it. So I should probably just stop doing it. So I should probably just like show up in other ways that are shiny over here so that you don't notice that I'm deeply lacking over here. And then I was about, I think it was like 32 years old. I had not read a book. Maybe I read 2 books for a book report once in school, did not write the paper, failed everything in the English subject because I had this truth that I developed that if I'm not good at it, then I can't. And so if I don't know how to spell, then I can't write. And if I don't know grammar, then there's no possible way that I can express myself through writing. And if I can't really spell, I can't really read either. And so I just like, when someone's like, oh, did you read this book? Like, oh, I don't read. That's not me.
I'm not one of those.
Like, I'm not one of those. I don't, just not a bookworm like that. And like, believed it as like, oh, part of who I am is someone who just like doesn't read. And that's just like a truth of mine. And then we went, actually, Frida and myself, we went to a workshop out in Seattle with a mentor of ours in the floral realm. And part of it was a writing workshop. And the woman that gave the workshop, she does columns to describe gardens. Like that's her specialty, is like bringing you into a garden and like speaking it into words that transcend you into into other spaces. And we got to chatting and I was like, telling her about myself and like hanging out. And then I was saying like, by the way, this is my first ever writing experience. Like, I don't know how to write. And it's just like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm excited to explore it. And she's like, 1 second. She's like, we just had a conversation for a little while now where you told me stories about yourself. She's like, it is very evident to me that you can articulate a message and it be understood. When you're writing, you're just speaking with your hand. And like literally my brain blew out of my head.
Wow.
I was like, what? I never knew that.
Yeah.
And I never allowed myself to know that because my truth told me that I can't read and I can't write. And so she gave us a prompt, and I wrote the story exactly how I would have told it to other. Mm-hmm. And it was like as if magic was like I was in the presence of magic happening. Oh. And then after we were done, she's like, does anyone want to share their piece? And I'm like, like raising my hand, like, Mimi. And she's like, okay. And like, I got up there and shared my piece and like moved everyone in the room from the experience. And I was just like, okay.
I got you.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, there is a part of it that is a willingness to try, to be brave, to do the thing that you thought you could never do.
Yeah.
The thing that you've told yourself is impossible. I don't read. I literally did not read because my narrative was I don't read.
Right.
And I can't write. I can't because if you can't spell and you can't do grammar, then you can't write. It's not possible.
Right.
But then with that, with the willingness of it, but that's what happens. Anyone who is calling me and coming as for a coach, they're already willing.
Yeah.
You made the call. You're here to transform.
Yeah.
The person who didn't call, okay, so they're going to get there when it's time for them. And hopefully they're listening. Exactly. But if you called me, you already did half the work.
Yeah.
Because you are making the step into recognizing that I want something more. Mm-hmm. I want something to change. I want to be in my awesome self. I want to be in full responsibility and ownership of my choices. Yeah. And to like really be able to ride that wave all the way.
Yeah. I love that.
It's getting warm in here.
Yeah, it is. I actually have one more question.
Okay.
And I think we'd wrap up.
Okay.
And I think it's such a great, with what you shared, I think, what do you wish that people knew about you? Or that, because you're talking about something that like you didn't know that about yourself, that you can write. But like, what do you wish that like, because you definitely are somebody who people do know a lot of things about because of the way that you bravely show up in this world. But I'm curious if there's anything.
Okay, cute. Love the question. I think I would love people to know that I'm not intimidating. I think that people assume that if you have a platform and if you're someone of influence, that must mean that you don't really care about me. And that like it doesn't translate in real life. Like, oh, she's like that there, but like in real life, she must be somebody else. But it's not true.
Yeah.
Like, I am the same person. Yeah. And I am so excited by people and interacting and learning through other and love the opportunity and the experience to explore with other. Yeah. And there's been many times where I received a message after the fact where someone was like, I saw you, but I didn't like come over because like I just didn't know what to say or whatever. Right. And I'm like, what? Why didn't you come over? Oh my God. Like the reason why I'm sharing is because I love the connection and it's because I love to learn through other and to engage in this way. Like I love it. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. So it's like, I guess what I want to impart is like, the point of sharing is to create an opening so that we could have a conversation and that we can both learn from each other. Like that's the point. Yeah. So yeah. So sending that message out there. That is so beautiful. Yeah. That like it's available to you. And if you feel it and if there's any sort of message that's coming up for you, like lean into it. Yeah. Like we have this one life to live, this one opportunity, this one conversation, this one comment exchange that's possible here. So let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it. Who knows what we're going to learn? Who knows? But like if we open ourselves up to that opportunity to learn, then we can. And it's going to be great. You know, it's like.
It is great.
Yeah, it is great already. Yeah. And I'm so. You know, I met my cousin the other day at a wedding, and he lives out in South Africa, and I don't really get to spend time with him ever. Mm-hmm. And there was this, like, moment that we shared that I got, like, really emotional with, where I was like, hey, you know, I'm so grateful for, like, the moments we have on Instagram together. Like, you comment on something that meant something to me, and like, we get to connect, and you're so far away. I wouldn't have this opportunity if not. I don't necessarily have a relationship with him where I can like call him on the phone and chat about everything that's going on in my life. But those moments where it's like you're all the way across the world and you're listening to what's happening here, and then you reach out, and then we get to like have a couple of minutes together and be present together in that moment. It's so deeply meaningful. And like, we looked into each other's eyes, and like, we both felt it. We're like, yes, that's what it is. Like, that, it's real. It is real. It's real if you want to be real with it. That's the bottom line.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And like, so like, I'm getting emotional just like being in the space of that reality.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, whatever you want to say about anything, like, it can be real, it can be meaningful, you can be here, you can love it.
And I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely I'm here for that.
I love that.
Yeah.
So exciting.
I also love that, like, we didn't talk about anything we talked about.
I know. I know.
Okay, fine. So we'll just do it again.
We'll have to do it again.
Okay, fine.
I feel like it's actually hilarious. This happens every single time. I like plan all these things.
Right.
Chani and I had a really great conversation when we spoke last time. And then we kind of had a plan. I literally have 4 pages of notes, and I have like more questions and more whatever. But I think it was also just like being floral about it and just like being present here in the moment, what was coming up for both of us.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I also would love for you to come again.
Yes. Love to come again.
So that's all. I just want to thank our listeners as well for being here.
Yes.
Any closing remarks?
I also want to express gratitude, first of all, to you for having me and for instigating this. I felt very called by Hashem to be here. When you asked me, I was like, I really truly believe that wherever I'm being asked to be, that's exactly where I'm meant to be. And I'm so glad it was here with you. And I felt like I was talking to you most of the time, but I like not used to being on a podcast, but yes, whoever this is going to reach, I'm so excited for you to listen in and to take whatever it is that was resonating and to already just be whatever that is that you want for yourself, because you are powerful and you can do this. And if you ever need a push up the butt, I'm around on Instagram. You can
plug away. Plug your Instagram right now.
My personal Instagram account is Makom Sanctuary. Makom is the name of Hashem used to comfort others when they are in mourning. And I just felt very connected to the comforting name of God. And Sanctuary is just a place on Instagram that also became a physical space where I see clients and where I share my own personal journey and wisdom that comes to me or things that I learn along the way that I find that are applicable to my life. And so I always feel that if it's good for me, it's definitely going to be good for somebody else out there. So let's put it out there. Yeah. And then Mimulo, which you guys all know, our beautiful floral design and event production company that is based out of Brooklyn, but we travel everywhere. That just takes feelings and creates experiences with them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. And I just want to tell our listeners to stay fabulous.
Okay.
And stay like a goddess, yeah?
Yes.
And come back and see us again soon.
Au revoir.